If you think the only way to buy a single family home in the West Metro is to spend $500,000 or more, this video is going to open up some real options for you. Today I am breaking down 6 West Metro suburbs where you can still find single family homes sub $400K, and I'm not just going to give you the prices, I'm going to get into what each place actually feels like, who it fits best, the school district, the trade-offs, all the things you need to know before you decide where to look. Well, we're not going to waste any time. We've got 6 places to check out today, and we are going to get right into it. And make sure you stick around till the end, because I'm going to tell you, if I was looking to get into the West Metro under $400K, I'm going to tell you exactly where I would go. Here comes suburb number 1. Well, if your biggest goal is just to get into that single family home in the West Metro without stretching the budget too far, maybe you're a first-time home buyer, Brooklyn Center is the very first place I would look because it is the most affordable on this list. So for single family homes, the median sales price here in Brooklyn Center is $310,000. We're almost keeping that under 3. Homes here are averaging about 19 days on market, and last year appreciated year over year at about 2.5–3%. Supply is tight. That's going to be the case with all these. Supply is at about 1.4 months. Brooklyn Center itself, about 33,000 residents. Median household income comes in right around $72,000, and about 25% of adults have a bachelor's degree or more. The average commute time for Brooklyn Center comes in at just about 23 minutes. So the question that's probably more relevant to you guys is, who is Brooklyn Center for? So let's talk about that. Now, this is for the buyer who wants a house first and a suburb and that image probably second. So if you want to stay in the metro, you want a yard, you want a single family home, and you need the numbers to make sense, Brooklyn Center, well, then Brooklyn Center can make a lot of sense. This is definitely going to be one of those more practical suburbs versus aspirational. So just something to know there. Let's talk about schools in Brooklyn Center. And the thing to know about Brooklyn Center is there are multiple school districts serving this community. There's the Brooklyn Center School District, there's Anoka Hennepin, there is Osseo. But this is one of those suburbs where you really want to check the exact address, because Brooklyn Center is going to be divided among multiple school districts. So honest truth, do not assume the school district is something just because the address says Brooklyn Center. Do a little bit of your own research and see exactly where you end up school district wise. The value story in Brooklyn Center is pretty straightforward. Brooklyn Center is one of the cheapest ways, I would say the cheapest way, to buy a single family home in this whole West Metro group, again at just $310,000. And the good news is the housing stock is actually a little bit younger than some of the other suburbs. A lot younger than a few, as you're going to see. Median home age here is 35, which is significantly younger than places like Robbinsdale, Richfield, which are also coming up on our list. The other nice thing is Brooklyn Center is mainly owner occupied, even though there is a smaller rental presence. So just something to know, who doesn't like those owner occupied homes? As far as how it feels, I gotta be honest here, Brooklyn Center is not usually a suburb people fall in love with because of its charm. Like I talked about, it feels much more functional, it is much more practical rather than emotional. You are not buying a cute downtown the same way you might in a place like Hopkins. What you are buying is affordability, you are buying location, and you are buying convenience. And for the right buyer, that is a completely fair trade-off. Walkability, this is not a walkable suburb in the way places like Hopkins is, or maybe downtown Wayzata. You are going to be driving for most things in Brooklyn Center, just understand that. But it is still very convenient day to day because you have strong access to major highways like 694, 94, Highway 100. So the metro is very accessible in Brooklyn Center. I would describe it as car dependent, but still very easy to get around. So one thing I do think is worth calling out as it relates here to Brooklyn Center, and that is Brooklyn Center has more outdoor access than some buyers expect. And who doesn't love outdoor access? That's what we are known for so well here in the Twin Cities. Brooklyn Center itself sits near the Mississippi River corridor, making that very accessible. You've got places like Palmer Lake Park to give it some real green space. So no, this is not a destination suburb, but this is not just busy roads and basic housing either. The biggest trade-off is pretty straightforward. If you're thinking about making Brooklyn Center your home, you are choosing affordability and access over charm and prestige. well, to me, that's not a big deal. And I'll take sensibility over charm and prestige any day. If somebody wants a suburb with a bit more personality and a place they get excited about the second they drive to, Brooklyn Center may not be choice number one. But if the goal is just getting into that single family home at one of the lowest price points in this whole West Metro, actually the lowest price point in this whole West Metro conversation, it absolutely deserves a look. By the way, my contact information is all right here. It is also down below. This is what I do. I help people like you make a move every single day. If you want a deeper dive on any one of these areas, more pricing on the homes, more information about the area, please shoot me a call, drop me a text, send an email, do something, but let's have a conversation. It's a lot easier when you've got somebody local helping you out. Let's keep it rolling with our next suburb. Well, if Brooklyn Center didn't do it for you, maybe its southern neighbor Crystal will. So just to the south of Brooklyn Center is Crystal, and Crystal is one of these suburbs that makes, again, a lot of sense for buyers wanting value without feeling too far out. Single family homes here, the median sales price does tick up a little bit to 3.25. Homes here are averaging 14 days on market with year-over-year appreciation, right about 2%. And there's 1.4 months of supply. That's going to be the theme with all these value-driven suburbs. They are tight, things move quick. Crystal itself has about 23,000 residents. Median household income sits right about 85,000, with about 35-36% of adults having a bachelor degree or higher. Average commute time here is going to be similar to most of the others. It's about 22 minutes. The big question, who is Crystal for? So this is a really solid fit for the buyer who wants a practical first-ring suburb without paying, Golden Valley, Plymouth, Minnetonka prices or anything, frankly, even close to that. If you want to be close in, if you want a single family home and want a suburb that feels very straightforward and livable, Crystal is a pretty easy one to have on the list and a pretty easy one to understand. School district department, the suburb is primarily served by the Robbinsdale School District. No surprise there. That is going to be the main district that most buyers moving into Crystal should have on the radar. Do your homework there. And one thing worth noting is Robbinsdale area schools also include a few magnet options, including the Fair School in Crystal, which really focuses on the fine arts and technology in the curriculum. So there is at least some added choice built in depending on what you want if you're moving into Crystal. The value proposition for Crystal is pretty straightforward and very strong because Crystal feels a bit more stable and a little bit more balanced than people expect at this price point. Obviously a good thing if you're considering moving in there. The median home age is going to be 44, so you are dealing mostly with an established housing stock. That's going to be the case across the board today for the most part. Not a lot of brand new construction. And a cool thing about Crystal is it is 75% owner occupied, and that is going to be the strongest number in this group for owner occupancy, and that definitely helps it feel a little bit more steady. And how it feels, kind of touched on this. Crystal is not flashy. It's going to be very similar to Brooklyn Center. It's not flashy. It's not a place people brag about. What it is a very solid, very functional suburb where a lot of people just quietly build a life who are not looking for that flash, glitz, and glamour. I would not call Crystal particularly walkable. It is still mostly a driving suburb compared to places like Brooklyn Center and definitely Brooklyn Park. It can certainly feel a bit more manageable on a day-to-day basis because you are so close to so many other West Metro places. That's a good thing. You've got great freeway access as well. In terms of unique features, I would call out Becker Park, maybe the Crystal Cove Aquatic Center. Those are the kinds of things that help make this place feel a little bit more like it has its own identity. I'm not going to tell you Crystal brings a ton to the table in the amenities department. It doesn't, and that will be the case for some of these other ones we talk about today. But again, as will many of these places, it's got a very good location, so it's not a particularly amenity-laden community. It is very easy to drive to very nearby places that are, so that's a good thing there. Biggest trade-off for Crystal is that it's what we just talked about. It does not have a super strong identity. It does not have a true downtown. It does not have that walkable main street like Robbinsdale is going to coming up here. It does not have a luxury reputation. Instead, it's just that I would call it a very blue-collar, very practical, not overly memorable place to be. But that being said, if your goal is simply getting a nice single-family home in the West Metro, good location without getting crushed on price, Crystal's going to be a great option to look at. Well, moving on to our next stop, that is going to be Robbinsdale, and that is going to be just to the east of Crystal. And if you want value, but you also want a little personality, Robbinsdale is going to be one of the best answers in this whole group. So let's chat about it. Single family homes, we've seen the median price here tick up to $330,000. Homes are averaging about 12 days on market and appreciating at about 5.5% a year. And there is only about 1.5 months supply. So things move fast in Robbinsdale. City itself has about 14,000 residents. Median household income ticks up a little bit to right about 85,000, as does that higher education, creeping up to about 40% of adults having a bachelor's degree or higher. Average commute time is listed as 22 minutes. To me, that's a little suspect because Robbinsdale is a first-ring suburb right on the doorstep of Minneapolis. So who is it for? Who is a good fit for Robbinsdale? This is for the buyer who wants more than just an affordable or cheap home. This is for someone who also wants a little bit of charm. You have to want an older home if you're moving to Robbinsdale. A little bit about an identity and a suburb that actually starts to feel more like a proper place. You know, if somebody says, I want character, but I cannot afford more expensive close-in suburbs like Edina, Robbinsdale is going to, or at least it should, come up very quickly. On schools, pretty simple in Robbinsdale compared to some we've talked about. The city is primarily served by the Robbinsdale School District. This is also one of the places where the district identity is more tied to the community than it is in some of these other places like Brooklyn Center, where you've got 3 to 4 districts serving it. Housing stock is either a big part of the appeal or it's a big drawback depending on how you feel about things. Median home age here in Robbinsdale is 73 years, which that is the oldest housing stock in this whole value group of suburbs. So if you like these older homes, if you like bigger trees, if you like more established streets, and you like neighborhoods that do not all feel the same, that's definitely me. That is a real plus. The flip side of that is also true. If you want newer homes, you want less maintenance, well, Robbinsdale in that case definitely may not be for you. You know, as for how it feels, Robbinsdale has real personality, and it's the first time in this list we can say that. This is one of the only suburbs in this group, I think, where the vibe itself is actually a major selling point. It has a genuine small downtown feel. It feels a lot more local. It feels definitely more distinctive. And I gotta be honest, it feels a lot less generic than some of the other suburban options at this price point and some that we've already talked about or will talk about. Walkability, this is one of the better ones in the group. I would still not call it a truly walkable across the whole city, but compared to places like Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, some of these other places, there are definitely more pockets where you feel that neighborhood and downtown connection compared to a lot of places. So I would call Robbinsdale the most naturally walkable feeling of the group, even though it is still a mostly driving dependent suburb overall. I know, confusing. For unique features, this to me is where Robbinsdale really separates, and the biggest thing to call out is the proper downtown itself. You've got Broadway, which runs right through the middle, about a 4 or 5 block stretch, some super cool spots. Pig Ate My Pizza. Don't miss Travail, one of the most unique restaurants in the entire Twin Cities. You will find that right in Robbinsdale. And you know, it's this main street, in my opinion, that is really part of why Robbinsdale feels more like a place and rather just another suburb. Biggest trade-off, biggest negative for Robbinsdale is going to be the age of the housing stock. Yes, older homes are part of the charm, but yes, if you do not want a housing stock that is on average 73 years old and probably has a few more quirks, maybe some deferred maintenance, and more of that old house trade-off stuff, Robbinsdale might not be your jam. So just something to keep in mind as you're thinking about Robbinsdale. But if you want that value, if you want a place with real soul, and especially compared to places like Brooklyn Center, this is definitely one of the more interesting options in the whole video. Well, we are going to leave the North and West Metro, and we are going to swing down to the South Metro, and we are going to find ourselves in Richfield. And Richfield is one of the clearest value plays in the whole conversation. It is the winner on location. For single-family homes, the median sales price here ticks up a little bit to $350,000. Homes here are averaging just 2 weeks on market, and there is only about 1.7 months of supply. So as is the case with all these value suburbs, things move quickly. Richfield's not going to be too big, about 37,000 residents, median household income, similar to that of Robbinsdale, right at about 85,000, with about 45% of adults having a bachelor's degree or higher. Average commute time here also about 23 minutes, but man, check out Richfield on the map. It's centrally located. So who is Richfield for? This is for the buyer who wants to stay close in. If location matters a lot to you, Richfield is one of the easiest suburbs to make sense of. Talk about this more in a minute, but you are right by Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, so if you fly a lot for work or otherwise, should be on the radar. And you are also going to be close to a lot of major job centers in Richfield as well. As I said earlier, Richfield wins the location battle here. That alone makes it one of the strongest arguments in this whole group. Talking about schools, pretty simple in Richfield. Richfield is primarily served by Richfield Public Schools, and unlike some of these other suburbs, Richfield feels much more like a one-district city, as does Robbinsdale, where we just came from. So from a buyer standpoint, the school conversation in Richfield is a lot simpler than some of these other places where you need to check your address, line it up with the school district, and do it twice on Sunday. The housing stock here is definitely going to be a bit older here. Not as old as Robbinsdale with its median age of 73, but median home age here is going to be 61 years old. So as is the case with all these, you are looking at established neighborhoods. You know, in Richfield, you're going to find a lot of older ramblers, older 1.5 stories, maybe some 2 stories, and just a more mature first ring suburb feel. This is part of the value story. It can also be part of the maintenance story if you are someone who shies away a little bit from those older homes. As for how it feels, much like some we've talked about, it is not trying to be trendy. Richfield is not trying to be upscale. It is just really, really practical, and I mean really practical, and that is why a lot of people end up liking it. It's one of these places that makes more and more sense. Like I already said, check it out on the map. The more you understand the map, the more Richfield start to make sense. Walkability, I wouldn't call Richfield particularly walkable, but it does have better everyday convenience than some of the others, especially because of how centrally located it is. So I would call it, not super walkable, but more convenient than many of these other options, which makes it very easy to live in for sure. Unique features, Richfield stands out in a few ways. Richfield has Wood Lake Nature Center. That's pretty cool. That's a 150-acre nature preserve you will find right in the middle of Richfield. That is a real asset, and it gives Richfield something a lot of suburbs at this price point do not have. And that is a true natural, some actual nature destination inside of the city. The other thing about Richfield is, again, go back to that map. You are right on the doorstep of Edina, so you can use everything that Edina has to offer without paying those Edina prices. You are right next to MSP, Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, one of the most highly rated airports in the world. #1 on-time airport in the world. That still blows my mind. So you got Edina and all of its amenities. You have the airport right there, and last but not least, for my shopper friends, you have the Mall of Hysteria. I mean the Mall of America, which is going to be in Bloomington, but it is right on the doorstep of Richfield. You are getting that location and practicality at a great value inside of Richfield. And because the homes are older, buyers, you guys need to go in with realistic expectations about updates and maintenance. But if your goal is to stay close, still buy a single family home at a pretty attainable price and have a location that is second to none, Richfield is probably the best answer on the board when you're factoring in location. Well, we are going to go from Richfield way back up to the northwest metro and find ourselves in Brooklyn Park. And the thing to know about Brooklyn Park is it is one of the biggest and broadest suburbs in this whole group. For single family homes, median sales price here ticks up a little bit to $350,000. Homes are sitting a little bit longer, but I wouldn't call them long, averaging 23 days on market and appreciating just under 3% a year with 2.1 months supply. All these value suburbs, as you can see, things move quick. City itself is big, 84,000 residents. Median income is pretty similar to the others we've talked about at 85,000, and about 32% of adults have a bachelor's degree or higher. Average commute time to work is about 22 minutes. Again, Brooklyn Park, you've got great freeway access up there, so Metro's very easy to get to. Who is Brooklyn Park for? Brooklyn Park is going to be the buyer, frankly, who wants some more options than some of these others we've talked about. Brooklyn Park, because of its size, it just has more neighborhood variety, more housing variety. It's got more space, a bit more of a suburban feel. So if you are someone who values a suburb that feels bigger and gives them more to choose from, Brooklyn Park is probably your best option on this list. Going back to schools, Brooklyn Park is going to be primarily, keyword is primarily, associated with Osseo Area School District, but this, again, like Brooklyn Center, this is another one where you absolutely need to check the address because Brooklyn Park is served by multiple different school districts. We talked about the big one is going to be Osseo, but parts of Brooklyn Park are also served by Anoka Hennepin and even a small fraction by Robbinsdale School District. So again, don't make assumptions based on the city name. Check the address, check the school district. Housing stock here is going to be noticeably newer than some of the other suburbs. We're coming from Robbinsdale with 73-year-old homes. Richfield was 61. Median age in Brooklyn Park for homes is just 16 years, which is a huge contrast from places like Robbinsdale and Richfield, of course. That means you buyers here, you guys are much more likely to find newer subdivisions, newer layouts, and homes that feel, more suburban in the modern sense. If you want a newer home, Brooklyn Park could be a place to look. As for how it feels, Brooklyn Park, I would say, is schizophrenic. It's got multiple identities, and it's really about where you are. It is definitely not a downtown suburb. It is definitely not a boutique suburb. What it is a big place with a lot of variation, and that is either its strength or its weakness, depending on how you want to look at it. But different parts of Brooklyn Park can feel very different from each other. That's something to really understand. Walkability, just based on the size, this is definitely a driving suburb. You are not moving to Brooklyn Park for a nice walkable downtown lifestyle. If that's your jam, get over to Robbinsdale. But if you are okay with driving, Brooklyn Park works well because the city does, as we've talked about, give you so many practical options. Unique features, some of those things, I would call out Mississippi Gateway Regional Park, which is right on the eastern edge of Brooklyn Park. You've also got the whole Mississippi River Valley right there. So Brooklyn Park kind of does sneaky well with green spaces and outdoor options, having the Mississippi right there. Also of note, it's got Edinburgh Golf, which is a public 18-hole golf course right in the middle of town. So that's kind of cool if you're a golfer. I am not. So, just with the size it has, it gives it a much broader mix of parks, events, and everyday services and just everyday happenings with a population of 84,000. Biggest trade-off here is that Brooklyn Park does not usually feel cohesive, as I keep talking about, because of its size, because it is split across multiple school districts, and because the neighborhoods vary. You need to get specific. You need to understand what you really want. You do not just go buy in Brooklyn Park. You buy a particular pocket of Brooklyn Park that fits your needs and what you're looking for. But just to sum this up, if you want a lot of suburban value and you want a lot of choice, Brooklyn Park is a great contender. Well, we are at our last stop today, so we are going to slide south from Brooklyn Park and we are going to find ourselves in New Hope, Minnesota. And New Hope sits at the top end of value group on price, but still very clearly part of the under 400,000 conversation, so we're going to get it. So single-family homes, median sales price here in New Hope is $370,000, which is the highest of the bunch. Homes here are averaging about 13 days on market, appreciating at about 4% year over year, and only 1.2 months of supply. This is a seller market like a lot of these places, so buyers, have your ducks in a row, have your financing in a row, be ready to go. New Hope itself is pretty compact, only 21,000 residents, median income of about $74,000, with about 37% of residents having a bachelor's degree or higher. Commute time in New Hope is a good story. Average commute is going to be only about 21 minutes. So that's real nice. Location is part of the puzzle for New Hope. Who belongs in New Hope? This is for the buyer who wants to be real honest. You want a straightforward suburb in a solid location. You are not looking for a lot of glam and glitz. You are not looking for a huge identity story. New Hope works best for those buyers who want reasonable pricing, easy access, in a suburb that feels very manageable. Schools, New Hope is also a pretty straightforward story. New Hope is served primarily by the Robbinsdale School District. That is the main district that buyers should expect if you are moving into New Hope. And similar to places like Robbinsdale, it is one of those suburbs where the district itself brings some added options, including magnet choices that we can find in the Robbinsdale area school district. So kind of a cool thing there to know. Housing stock here is a bit more established, but it's kind of in the middle. So, Brooklyn Park had a median age of 16, Robbinsdale was 73. Median home age in New Hope is 44, so middle of the road, not new construction territory, but certainly not 70 plus years old. Interesting note, New Hope is only 52% owner occupied, which is the lowest owner occupancy rate in this whole group. I think it's worth noting just because it does make New Hope feel a little bit more mixed than some of the others. It's something I would want to know if I was moving into a community, so just have that on the radar. As far as how it feels, we kind of touched on this. It's going to feel a lot like Crystal, Brooklyn Center. It's not overly charming. New Hope is not a destination suburb. The flip side is it can be a very practical one. Like I talked about, it is compact, it's easy to get around, it's straightforward, and it's very usable. Walkability, like most of the ones we've talked about here, maybe with the exception of Robbinsdale, I would still call this very much a mostly car-dependent layout. But because it is fairly compact, it can feel a bit easier to move around in than some of the larger ones, like Brooklyn Park. So not walkable, but compact, very convenient is New Hope. Unique features, I gotta be real, I cannot tell you that New Hope brings a ton to the table for features. You got the New Hope Ice Arena, you got the city's public golf course. That's really it. The good news is for New Hope is what we talked about, location. You are very close to Theodore Wirth Park, probably 10 to 15 minutes in the car. Theodore Wirth Park is on the western edge of Minneapolis. It's a 750-acre, amazing outdoor park. I call it Minneapolis' Central Park, so you can drive to that very easily from New Hope. You've got Highway 169 on the western edge, so getting in and out of New Hope is real easy. And just being real with you, if you're gonna live in New Hope, you probably are going to be going in and out of New Hope to do a lot of things, because like I said, frankly, there is just not a ton to do. There is not a ton of local amenities in this suburb, and that's part of the reason why it kind of has this identity crisis. No downtown, not a big destination zone. It is what it is. So that kind of brings me to the last point here. The biggest trade-off for New Hope is that it can feel a little generic. It can. That being said, it works. The location's great, the pricing works, but you just gotta realize if you are moving to New Hope emotionally, I'm not gonna tell you this is the most exciting, glamorous option, but back to reality. If the goal is a single family home at a reasonable price in a good West Metro location, New Hope's absolutely on the list. Well, I told you if you stuck around with me till the end, I'd tell you where I would pick. And for me, it really comes down to one of two options. For me, if I'm looking for sub 400K in the West Metro, I am either looking at Robbinsdale or Richfield. Why? To be completely honest with you, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, New Hope, and Crystal, great places. For me personally, they all feel a little bit too generic. There's not enough going on for yours truly. So I like Robbinsdale, and Robbinsdale I really like for two reasons. It's got an awesome walkable downtown Main Street. Talked about that in the video. It is, out of all these 6 places, to me, it is the place that has the most personality. It has the most charm. It's got some great restaurants. Those are the reasons I like Robbinsdale. If I wasn't going to Robbinsdale, I would swing south and I would put myself in Richfield. Well, why Richfield? Richfield itself doesn't have a ton going on, but Richfield's got an amazing location. You are just south of Minneapolis, so the chain of lakes, everything Minneapolis has to offer is right at your fingertips. You've got Minneapolis St. Paul Airport right there. You have the Mega Mall, which I will never go to, but a lot of people like it. You've got that right on the doorstep. And just to the west, you've also got Edina, which is one of the heavy hitters in the West Metro. And if you live in Richfield, especially depending on what part, you can literally drive 2 minutes, be in Edina, enjoy everything you get in Edina, and get a home for quite literally a third of the price. So for me, I'm going to Robbinsdale, I'm going to Richfield. They are the most interesting of the bunch to me. Thanks again for watching. Contact information again, it's all below. It's also on the screen right here. I mean it, if you guys are thinking about making a move, please reach out. This is what I do. Would love to have a conversation. If you liked the video, please give it a like, maybe even bang that bell and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video real soon.